Hey, soul anarchists, welcome to the Sunday Night Burn. Paul Duane here, the cross-dressing Mormon anarchist. Cross-dressing tonight in my nifty Five Wives Vodka Film Festival t-shirt. Check that out. All right, so anyway, I hope you've had a great week. I'm going to jump right into tonight's topic. And before I do that, let's recap a little bit about what we talked about in the last 2 weeks. So in the first week we were here, into that, let me give a bigger intro for those of you who may have jumped into this and have never seen this before or watching for the first time. So, welcome. God, this is so clumsy. Every Sunday night, we gather here in the Soul Anarchist Society and talk about the work of living authentically and moving into our own power. And I have found in my own life, there's a process that I've gone through, and I've noticed other people go through it. And I'm going to be sharing that process with you. And it's 12 steps. Geez, why does everything have to be 12? It's not a 12-step. It's not like that. Not that kind of 12-step program. Oh, maybe it is. No, it's different. But there are 12 basic phases I've found that people go through as they're moving into their truest, most authentic version of themselves. And I've gone through them. I'm going to be sharing those with you over the course of the next several weeks. Not done so, go ahead and subscribe to the Soul Anarchist Society over at soulanarchist.com. That gives you regular access to these. Every Sunday night we do these. And again, if this is your first time, you should know that there's always going to be some homework. There's going to be a little inspiration, some insight, always something for you to do at the end of the week. And yeah, so that's the idea here. The idea is it's like we're gathering around the fire pit. At the end of the week, we're talking about how our week went, what we're going to do moving forward. Yeah, it's like our own little soulful fight club in a sense. Anyway, right now we've talked about a couple of steps in this process of moving into our own authenticity. And the first week we were talking about the ordinary state of affairs in your life, and I asked you to do some writing about it and to get really, really honest about what's going on in your life, what normal looks like, and to share with you in your journal, in your own private thoughts, how you feel about that. And so let's be thinking about that for a second. Again, how is your life going? How are you feeling about it? Are you completely thrilled out of your mind? Are you firing on all cylinders right now? Are you living your purpose? Are you filling every day with things that build your legacy and your life work? If you are, awesome. I want to talk to you more. Anything but a resounding yes, then this process is absolutely for you. So, yeah, we find ourselves in the first stage of this in the ordinary world, kind of contemplating the state of affairs. And oftentimes I've found in my own ordinary world phase, it's kind of a ho-hum, boring existence. You know, that's how I grew up. And then something happens that brings a new awareness. And I'm going to share some of those experiences I've had in my life with you tonight. So, cheers, by the way. Hope you're drinking something delicious as you watch this tonight. A little Mexican beer going on here. So, anyway. So, here are a couple of times that I have felt a call to something and answered it. And I want to tell you how that panned out. So, we're going to be talking about passionate about. We're going to be talking about what it's like to feel and hear the call. Then we'll set the stage for next week where we talk about what happens after you actually receive the call. So, the call. So there's this in the parlance of mythologists, there's this idea that we are, the heroes of our own story, and at some point we receive the call to something bigger. And I've certainly had that happen in my own life in a couple different ways. One of the times I definitely received the call was when I was a Mormon missionary in Philadelphia back in the late 90s. And, I'd never been out east. I'd never lived in a big city like that. And Philadelphia has so much and so much interesting culture, and it's such a cauldron of human experience. And I was really deeply affected by so much of it. And I remember just having this thought, and it wasn't like it wasn't like thunder and lightning and the clouds parting and the heavens opening and angels coming. It wasn't anything like that. I just had this moment where I had this simple, absolutely clear knowing that someday I will become a good enough photographer to come back out here and document some of this stuff. I didn't second guess it. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I just knew. Plain as day. Like, I know the sun's going to rise tomorrow morning. Have you ever had that happen? Have you ever had that clarity where something comes to you and you just know? That's what happened to me. Those of you, most of you who are watching this know me and know about my career. But for those of you who don't, when I'm not doing videos like this and I'm not talking about living authentically, I'm a photographer. I've had a photography career for the past 17 or so years, and it's been amazing. It's been my livelihood and one of my passions. And it's been full of ups and downs, and it has taught me so much about myself. It still does. It's provided for me and my family. It's been a really awesome thing. So anyway, but the point being that there was that simple moment of knowing. I just know someday I'm going to do this. Let me tell you about another time that happened. I was a mailman. Okay, this is back in let's say this is probably 2008, 2006. Back. Yeah, I think it was like summer of 2008. It was the summer of 2008. I had to think about that for a minute. And I was a mailman. I walked the streets of Salt Lake City putting pizza coupons and junk mail in people's mailboxes that they'd never check. It was a weird, thankless job, and I hated it. But it paid really well, like ridiculously well. You'd never believe how much mailmen make. Letter carriers. More politically correct, gender inclusive term, letter carriers. They make quite a lot of money for what you may expect. Anyway, so one day, and I mean, but the work is mind numbing. It's so boring. I had a hard time dealing with it. And one day I'm walking along, I'm listening to some podcasts, listening to NPR, listening to the news. Ron Paul was running for president for the first time, and he was getting the short end of the stick so badly. Frustrated me immensely to see how this guy that has this really beautiful message of live and let live, and he, like, you may like or not like Ron Paul, I don't care, but change my mind. Ron Paul is one of the most principled politicians we have had in this nation ever. He's not perfect, but he is the best we've had. The best. And one thing you can know about Ron Paul is you may not agree with him, but you can trust him because he's super straightforward about where he's coming from all the time. You may not like it, but you can trust that he's telling you the truth about what's going on. And I love that. I'd rather have, an elected official that I don't agree with all the time, but I know is acting in honesty and respect, than somebody that's slimy and, just a fucking snake oil salesman. I was hanging out yesterday at a convention, and one of the top politicians in our state, the Speaker of the House of the House and the Utah Senate, was there, and just a goddamn snake oil salesman. It's disgusting. Anyway, I digress. So I'm listening to Ron Paul, I'm listening to the media just completely shit on him. And I had this thought come to my mind, just clear as day. Same kind of thing, like the photography thing, same kind of thing as, you know, the sun's going to rise tomorrow and so will I, you know. I had this thought that came into my mind, and it went like this. Someday I'm going to get involved in the media and sex back in libertarianism. And the next thought was, because these people are fucking terrible at sharing their message, and their message is awesome. It's magnificent. It's what most people believe in, but they don't know it because the media gets in the way so much. And the libertarians themselves are so bad at sharing the message that no one knows it. So I will carry that banner because people deserve to know about this. People deserve to have elected officials that believe in this stuff. And the media, it is the media's job, the fourth estate, to carry that forward. I mean, without a cooperative media, that can never happen. So I made up my mind. I'm going to do it. I will do it. And at this time, I'd never done a podcast. I'd never been on stage doing like comedy or public speaking. You know, I mean, the only real skill I had was photography. And so I figured that I would somehow like use my photography to further that knowing. But really, really weak attempts at coming up with a magazine concept, thinking maybe I would start something like kind of pick up where Hugh Hefner left off with Playboy, but do it a more libertarian, liberty-centric, you know, flavored publication that had great articles, great, you know, art, beautiful girls, some sexy stuff, some lifestyle stuff. I thought maybe that's what I'll do, you know. And I tried. It just didn't work. I just didn't. It was really discouraging for a while. But what's interesting is, I mean, look, we're here right now having this conversation on exactly the medium, essentially the platform I envisioned back in like 10 years ago, having a liberty-centric lifestyle magazine, a lifestyle publication. You know, print is dead. I'm not interested in creating print things, but Patreon is essentially, it's a digital magazine. And so here we are, we're doing this. The short story is, yeah, I went on my own hero's journey to arrive where we are now. It happened. It absolutely happened. It completely came true. I had to go through all kinds of crazy, ridiculous adventures. I had so many challenges I had to deal with. I had to confront my ego at every turn. I had to confront my deepest fears at every turn. Still do a lot of times, to be honest with you. But it came to pass. It manifested. So what I want to know from you, here's what this isn't about me. This is ultimately about you. When is a time in your life when you felt the call? When is a time when you found yourself in the midst of your boring ass ordinary life and something came to you like a light bulb coming on in the darkness, just clarity, just a knowing, hey, this is the thing I'm going to do. And there's a reason for it, and it's bigger than me. I will do the work. My name might be on the work, but it's vastly bigger than me. You ever had that experience? I think a lot of you have, because that's who I market to. I mean, I think most of the people who are watching this who've felt that before, and are in some stage of dealing with it from there on out. And the purpose of this whole thing, the purpose of the Soul Anarchist Society is what happens next. If you've received that call, the call, you know, that prompting, that knowing, that clarity that says, hey, there's this thing bigger than you, and it is for you to do. It's your life work, or one of them anyway. It's been my experience that I've had several of these happen in my life. Those are two of the bigger ones. But yeah, I think we can have multiple calls. But right now I want you to be focusing on what, you know, the primary call, the biggest one, the most meaningful one, The call that when you die someday is the thing that people will talk about at your funeral. This is the reason people will come to your funeral. This is the reason you will matter in the world, because you did this thing that left the world a better place, that was bigger than you, and you somehow brought it into existence. That's what we're talking about. Something a better place, something that made other people's lives better, that you were inspired to do. So, and look, it can be anything. Like if you're an engineer, maybe you received a call to build a new kind of bridge. Maybe you started a new kind of accounting firm that caters to an underserved population. Maybe you are a painter. Maybe look, it could be anything. But the point is that knowing, that clarity, that moment of passion. And in my mind, this is the other thing that's really worth noting. In my experience, anyway, the call. Look, let me say this. There are times I've felt moments of what feel like inspiration, where it's like, you know, fanfare blowing and, you know, fireworks in my brain, and I feel like, you know, oh my God, this is the most epic thing in the whole world. Holy shit, this is going to change everything. I've had those moments. And I've had the moments, like I've mentioned, that are just quiet and matter of fact. And in my experience, the big fanfare stuff doesn't stick. That's something else. It's I don't know. It's some other human experience I was having. It's the quiet stuff that sticks and ends up becoming really beautiful and powerful and blooms into something really big. On kind of a tangent, I've been wondering about this as far as relationships are concerned too. I've been dating a fair amount in the past, this year in 2018, and having a lot of really interesting experiences. And I've got this theory, like I've been walking around kind of halfway expecting for the right moment to be that one that just bowls me over with all kinds of butterflies and fireworks and, you know, love songs playing soundtrack. It just feels transcendent, you know. I've had experiences like that. I have. And I've also had some experiences lately that they're not like that, but they're awesome. They're just quiet and matter of fact and simple and easy. I mean, they require work, you know, like nothing's effortless, but they're just obvious. No big fanfares, just easy and obvious and simple. I'm starting to think that that's what inspiration really, really feels like in both love and work and art and all the good stuff that we came here to do as humans. It's my experience so far, for what it's worth. So anyway, that's all. That's what I've got for you tonight. So in your journal that you should have started, because step one of this whole thing was to begin a journal where you can do some serious writing about this process that we're going through together. The second step, you know, the first step was writing about the ordinary world. The second step, the second chapter of your journal, if you will, second part, is talking about this call to adventure that you have had, this call to greatness, this call to a work or some kind of legacy, something you're here to do. So, yeah, that's the next thing you need to write about in your journal. I'll follow up with you next week on that. I want you to write about that. And in the comments of the video today, I want you to write the call done. Write that. That'll be cool. Then we'll it'll encourage everybody to get active and participate in this. So anyway, that's what I've got to share with you tonight. Become aware of that call. If you haven't received it, that's okay. If you have not felt that moment of clarity, that's okay. You may have overlooked it. Your purpose may be right in front of you and you're just not seeing it. And I refer you back to my last video about architects and builders. You may very well be a builder, and thank God, because we need so many of them. So go back and watch that other video, see if that resonates with you. But to be clear, architects, this is the call to build something, the call, the blueprint, if you will. Okay, I've been talking long enough. Let's sign off. I've got more cool content I'll be putting out on Soul Anarchist Society this week. Some more pretty photo shoots, some more writing. And yeah, if there's anything I can do to help you in your journey, message me, leave a comment, let me know. And I'm here to help you along and help you gain clarity and support you in your path. So, all right, brothers, sisters, everyone in between, cheers. Thanks for joining tonight's Sunday Night Burn.